for my whole life. The ones that came later in my life, yeah. I appreciate all the blessings God has given me, and I want to repay it to you like this. Clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. Introducing. This is the joint where we give shout outs to all the peeps, you know what I'm saying? You know we couldn't do this joint without spreading some love to the ones. Yo, check it, Leah. If I just ruled the world, I would give y'all everything. Yes, we going out. We going out just like that. Yeah. We going out. We going out just like that. Yeah. This is kind of like a prayer going out to all the peeps close to me and dear to me, the ones that's been there for my whole life, the ones that came later in my life.
Four grand juries in New York, Washington, D.C.,
I appreciate
Florida, and Georgia have indicted
all the blessings.
A grand jury in Arizona that was considering indicting Donald Trump did not indict Donald Trump after the prosecutor told the grand jury, quote, "I have not recommended that in the draft indictment, despite clear indications from you all that there's an interest in pursuing a charge against him. I know that may be disappointing to some of you." That's how close Donald Trump came to being indicted a fifth time in Arizona. Some of what was said in that grand jury has become public in the filings in the Arizona case this week, in which 18 people were charged in a fake elector scheme. Some of the prominent non-Arizona defendants in that case are Mark Meadows, the former White House chief of staff, who was also indicted in Georgia, Rudolph Giuliani, who was also indicted in Georgia, Trump staffer Boris Epshteyn, Attorney John Eastman, who was also indicted in Georgia, and Attorney Jenna Ellis, who was also indicted in Georgia. Jenna Ellis has pleaded guilty in Georgia and pleaded guilty this week in Arizona, which could move Donald Trump closer to being indicted in Arizona if she provides even stronger evidence against Donald Trump in that case. In response to motions by some Arizona defendants saying that the prosecution was politically motivated, the prosecution filed a motion to prove how restrained the indictment was. The motion says the state grand jury was told by the Attorney General's office on multiple occasions that it had the discretion to indict no one. Far from being politically biased, the Attorney General's office, despite the grand jury's interest in doing so, asked the grand jury to consider not indicting Donald Trump. 28 Republican members and members-elect of the Arizona legislature who had signed onto a document falsely purporting to be a joint resolution of the 54th legislature, state of Arizona, to the 116th Congress on December 14th, 2020. And an attorney for the Arizona Republican Party and others associated with the defendants. Joining our discussion now is Andrew Weissmann, former FBI General Counsel, former Chief of the Criminal Division, the Eastern District of New York. He is an MSNBC legal analyst and co-author of the New York Times best-selling book, The Trump Indictments. Andrew, did you ever have occasion to leave out that many potential defendants in a case, especially one as big and central to it as Donald Trump?
So this is a bit of a head scratcher in terms of what's going on here. You know, my job is to try and think of what are legitimate arguments that could have been in the heads of the prosecutors. I mean, obviously, it is true that it certainly shows this is hardly a witch hunt with the prosecutors out for, you know, vengeance against Donald Trump, given what they represented to the court. And the only thing I could think of, which I don't think is a really good explanation, is that sometimes if you have a defendant who could be charged federally and in state court, in other words, in two jurisdictions, there may be a sort of a discussion about, what, it's better to go in one versus the other as opposed to charge them in both places. That's certainly a factor that the federal government would consider in deciding whether to bring charges. But here, the reason I don't think that's likely or not a terribly good argument is that you have a real problem with the federal sort of fake elector scheme, which is that if Donald Trump wins the presidency, in spite of the polls that you just referenced, but if he were to do that, the federal case is going to go away. And so it's better to have the state case start and go forward because you really don't have this sort of confidence that if there's going to be a vindication of those criminal interests at the federal level. So I really don't know why they did that other than, politics or fear or some factor that wouldn't normally be permissible.
There is a line that was disclosed in those grand jury transcript bits that were in the motion that were.
All right, so this is a new case opening up against Donald Trump. Well, his associates in Arizona, and this is fake electors case, a fake electors case. I mean, it's really sad. I feel really sorry for the U.S. I mean, because for Americans, I feel sorry for Americans. It's just everyday Americans. It doesn't matter what kind of job you have, what type of title you have. I mean, right now, Americans deserve better, way better than this. And the reason why I say this is going back to my original title of today is why did I move, right? Why I live outside of the U.S. and what Americans need to know about other Western policies. Yeah, that's the reason why I feel sad because look, man, I'm American. I'm born and raised in the United States of America. My family comes from the United States of America since the colonial period. You see what I mean? And, the colonial period, essentially, which is a long time ago, hundreds of years ago, right? Now, but when you travel, when you live, and I don't mean travel like vacation, because see, a vacation is not long enough for you to kind of really see how things are in another country. You have to live there to kind of really see. It takes a while, right? But after, growing up and living, into my 30s and then moving outside of the U.S. after I've been traveling for a minute, just for work and as a younger person, right? I decided to live outside. I had an option, a choice to live outside or live in, come back to the U.S. And I thought, because I love the U.S., I love my country, I love my hometown, I love my upbringing, I love, I don't have anything to complain about because I had the average things to complain about, which everybody got to complain about when you grow up in DC, which is the generation I grew up in. There's a lot of gun violence, right? That's the one thing that DC had is a lot of gun violence, and so when you grow up there, you have to understand that violence, gun violence is always lurking. When I was growing up, it was that way. I'm not saying it's that way now. But that, I'm not saying that's the only thing, but there was loads of wonderful things that I missed too, that I love. Right. And, but when you live outside of the U.S., you see things how they are when you live there, and you learn how things are. And after a while, at first you suspect because somebody could tell you they have universal health care here. Someone could tell you that and you would just think if you haven't used it, if you're not a part of it, then you just think, okay, that's great. But you really don't understand what that means until you go into a doctor's office and they don't ask you for your anything else but your universal health card. One question through any type of treatment, any type of surgery, any type of one question. Where's your health card? And that's the health card that you get upon becoming a resident, not even a citizen, just living here. You get the same health rights as any citizen, right? I'm not a citizen, but I have the same health rights as any citizen living in the country I live in, right? Copenhagen, Denmark. Well, everybody in the US doesn't have that. American citizens don't have that right. All American citizens are not covered. They don't have the right. They have to think, when I get sick, how much does it cover? Where does it cover? What doctor does it cover? Is it going to cover me? Or are they going to say, I already had a pre-existing condition? Or are they going to cover up to this amount because it costs this much? Nobody, where I'm living thinks about that at all because there's nothing to think about. The answer is you get what you need. Your health care is covered. You pay this in tax. This is what we're giving back. Everybody pays this and we giving everybody this. That's what is happening here. So when I see family members or anybody get sick and have to discuss how they're going to, and let me tell you, Americans discuss healthcare a lot. But the reason why they discuss it a lot is because it ain't simple. It's not a right. Yeah, it's great you got Medicare. It's great you have access to a lot of the things you do. But Americans talk about healthcare because they haven't solved the healthcare crisis. This was another issue with COVID healthcare. Who has right to treatment and who doesn't? Well, guess what? If you get a little sick, right, and you get something like COVID, right, how do you even know what you got if you can't walk into a hospital or a doctor and see one? What if you got a fever? Oh, I got a fever. Let me see your healthcare card. Don't have health. I don't have healthcare. I don't have insurance. Oh, well, that person gets thrown out back on the street to go and infect everybody else. Healthcare, if you really, the U.S. ducked a global crisis. They ducked it. They barely escaped. The United States barely escaped COVID. Barely. They did a great job at rebounding. The workers, the healthcare workers did a phenomenal job. But a lot of them, as you found out in the healthcare story in the United States, they were at the hospital, but when they got sick or when their family member got sick, were they covered? You see what I mean? So a lot of things in the U.S. grow into bigger problems than they could be than if they're dealt with in the beginning properly, just in a universal way. But that's not happening. So that's one of the reasons why I moved out. Now, people talk about the taxes that Europeans pay. Talk about it like you're paying all kinds of taxes. No, somebody lied to you in your country, in the United States of America. Somebody that you trusted, a politician, lied to you. A news agency lied to you. They told you a lie. Have you ever noticed how there's never been any comprehensive explanation of how taxes are collected in Europe? What social benefits people get for their taxes? It's called the deal. I pay this a percent out of every hour that I work. I pay this to you and I get this back from you for this service, right? Well, in the US, they make it sound like we're paying a whole lot of money. It's a lie. We're paying what you pay in DC, but we're getting more. We're paying a lot more. We're paying what you pay in Los Angeles, except we're getting a lot more for our taxes here where we are. outside of the US in the EU. We're paying what you in taxes, what the everyday person pays in New York City, except we're getting more for you. If I wanted to go to school tomorrow, to the university or to a technical school, I don't have to ask. I go, it's free, and I even get a check paid for it. That's what we're getting for our taxes. The United States is a far more wealthier country than any other EU country, any other on earth, by the way, any other country, period. Yet its citizens are working like dogs. So, traveling, I began to see that. And after a while, getting over the first initial shock, like, wow, damn, y'all get all that? In my mind, I was like, shit, man, something must be up with this. This can't be right. How is this possible? Yeah. And I took myself through that for a long time. But this is 20 years now. My kids are not 20, but almost. My kids are it's been 20 years now. Now, I totally see the difference. But this is really sad, actually, because this is a whole generation now that I've seen of non-Americans living outside of the US, living in the EU for their taxes, just quite simply getting more out of their tax dollar. Very simple to understand. Way more out of their tax dollar. A whole generation. A whole generation. I mean, I watch one. If you want to talk about child to adulthood, that's 20 years. I've seen one generation, essentially 20 years, outside of the U.S. get benefits, social benefits, all that time while paying the same taxes that everyday Americans pay. Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., New York City, Philadelphia, Chicago, Baltimore, right? Wherever else, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Texas, all these places, right? I've watched it. I've seen it. It's a cold fact. The United States media outlets, they lie to people about taxes, about what American taxpayers pay. I don't know if they're in on the scam. It looks like they're in on the scam. It looks like they don't want you to know that you're either not getting shit for your taxes, not enough, or I don't know what it is. I can't tell you why or the motivation of why, but I can tell you that you have probably never in your life seen a comprehensive comparison of what people pay in taxes in Europe and what social benefits they get for their taxes versus the one you pay in the US and what social benefits you get in the US. I'm guaranteeing you, most people, 99.9% of people have never seen that in the media. But yet you pay taxes for every hour you work, every day of your life. Don't you think that's some very powerful information to want to know? Don't you think, since you're obligated to pay a percentage every single second that you work to earn 1 penny, you have to pay part of that over to your state and part of that over to your federal government? Don't you think it's of prime interest to want to know, as a human being on earth, if you get back what the next person on earth gets back for that same amount? Don't you think you would want to know? Or do you think you would want to waste 20 years of your life working your ass off harder than the next human being for the same thing or less? Americans work their ass off they work their ass off for less than other Western people do. Other Western people get more out of their tax dollars than Americans do. No American should be smiling about this. No American should feel smart about this. You know what you should feel like when the reality is like that? You know what you should want to feel like doing? Obviously to yourself.
That's when I smack the shit out you. I smack the shit out. That's when
you should feel that way because you've been duped. Yes, I'm talking about real life being duped. Not a little tiny dupe, a huge dupe. Hey, Ashley D, what's up, Donnie? I'm talking about a gigantic dupe. I'm not saying the type of duping that you let me drop this damn link too. Maybe somebody want to hop up tonight. I decided I had to come on. I got my been doing the daddy thing all day, but I did say I was gonna come back. It's late. It's 5 a.m. so I'm up early so I can do this, and I guess everybody's like 11 in the US. But this type of duping that I'm talking about, this ain't a little bit of dupe. You ain't been duped a little bit. This is why I am voting for Kamala Harris, because the Democratic Party is talking about this reality, not a falsehood. Who in their right mind would want to wake up every day of their life, pay more in taxes than other people in other Western nations, and get less back? Who in their right mind would want to do that for 20 years, let alone 50 years? But the truth of the matter is it's been about 60, 70 years, 70 or 80 years outside of the US that's how it's been. But inside of the US, it hasn't been that. The US, the only Western nation where people pay the same as European nations in taxes, but get less back. They get less health care. They get less housing insurance. They get less access to school and education, less access to clean water, drinking water. Imagine living in a damn industrialized country and you don't have clean drinking water. Then what the hell is the point in living there? And what the hell is the point paying any tax if they can't even provide you clean drinking fucking water? Do you understand? There's Americans walking around. And first, let me start talking to you black people that's thinking about voting for Donald Trump. He's not talking shit about this. He's not saying anything about what you should get for your tax dollars. Nothing. Some of y'all think you're so smart when in fact, you're just being like fucking slaves, paying more for less. Only a slave works harder for less. People should be outraged. People should be like, damn, what am I going to do about this? I've been duped for a whole lifetime, an entire generation paying more taxes for less services than the next person in their allied Western nation, the EU. I mean, how do y'all feel about that? How do you feel? How do you feel about that? How do you feel to talk to another American that doesn't have a problem with healthcare? Do you know how many Americans I talk to, old, young, mothers, fathers, grandparents, parents, even that talk about this issues about healthcare in the U.S.? That's a huge thing. That simple one thing, universal healthcare, provided all across Europe, United States of America, just couldn't figure out a way to do it. Just can't figure out a way to do it. Yet everybody else has and is in Western countries. I mean, that means you pay tax dollars for less. You're paying more for healthcare than anybody else on fucking earth, and you're not even getting it. You pay. Think about this. Look at this. For your tax dollars that you pay, Washington, D.C., New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, Atlanta, Baltimore, Philadelphia, New Jersey, all Connecticut, and all these places, right? The tax dollars that you pay the same tax dollars that somebody in the EU pays, except people in the EU actually get health care for it, all their health care. Guess what else they get? Housing insurance. That means when you lose your job and you earn less money, the government will supplement the difference Yes, they mean that too. That means you don't get your black ass kicked the fuck out on the street. Yeah, you know what that's like. Um, it also means when you want to go back to school, guess who's paying for it? It's coming out of your tax dollars. It ain't you paying for it. You're not going out getting a loan to pay for it, trying to struggle to figure out how you're gonna fucking go back to school. They pay you to go to school in the EU. Yes. They pay the same, we pay the same taxes here in the EU as you pay in the US. You get less. You should never laugh about that. You should go home and fucking cry about it.
That's when I smack the shit out you. I smack the shit out. That's when.
And you know, the crazy thing is that a lot of these people have the nerve to laugh about their fucked up situation in their country. A lot of people have the nerve to try to laugh it off. You can't laugh it off. It's so obvious that you have nothing to laugh about as an American citizen. You are treated the worst of any Western citizen on earth, and it ain't because of the Democratic Party. It's because of criminals like Trump, and you still laughing about it. Beverly, what's up?
Oh, hey.
Good morning to you. Or late night. It's late night for you. It's nighttime. Good night for you.
Oh, it is
Morning to
11:15.
me.
Yeah,
But you
yeah.
feel me? You feel me? You feel me?
No,
Beverly,
medical care here is horrible. I mean, the price of it is horrible. It's good care, but the price of it is horrible. We pay too much for it. Hopefully, when Harris, hold on a
y'all
minute.
pay too much up for it, and it don't
Wait,
got nothing to do with
wait 1
inflation.
minute. I think somebody's knocking at my door. Hold on
Okay.
a minute.
Yeah, Americans pay way too much for healthcare, and it ain't got nothing to do with inflation. Y'all been paying way too much for healthcare long before COVID, and it was a choice. It was a political decision. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Americans been paying way too much for education way before inflation, and it was a choice, a political choice. So all of this stuff about that Americans have gotten used to paying for, that other people in Western countries do not pay for, it just simply comes from their tax dollars that they paid, which is the same that tax amount that Americans pay. What the hell? Americans ain't upset about that? So Americans want to work hours longer for a full day's work. They want to pay more for healthcare. They want to pay more for education. They want to pay more for housing. That's where Americans are at, and that's been the case way before COVID. So this ain't got nothing to do with inflation. Why would you, if somebody stick a knife in your back 10 inches, why would you want them to pull it out a centimeter and then you smile like a centimeter is good when 9 point something inches is left in your back? Americans are walking around with a knife in their back and don't even realize it. A lot of them got the nerve to hop on the internet and act like they got it good, when they don't. When they got a family member who's sick, who they can't afford to take care of, when they got a child they can't afford to drop off at goddamn school, when they can't afford to get their ass to work or keep some clothes on their back or some food in their mouth or a roof over their head, and got the nerve to laugh like that's not emergency situation. Beverly, go ahead. You there, Bev? All right, so but yeah, but that's why I'm out here today. I'm just doing my thing as an American. I love, and I'm not doing it for all Americans, because I know some Americans are just goddamn hard-headed. The ones that are hard-headed, fuck you. Go somewhere and die. I could care less. You're a waste of time and a waste of energy for everybody. But the ones that want to hear this message, the ones that have the brain capacity to say, I wonder what it's like. I wonder what it's like in another country. I wonder how much taxes they pay in another country. I wonder how much do they get back for the taxes they pay in another country. And I wonder if there's an American that can tell me. If you're one of those Americans, you found your guy. If you're not, get the fuck out of here. Because that's what I'm about. Actually really providing real information to my people. Qualified and quantified if necessary. So don't act like nobody ever told you. Don't act like you didn't have somebody to ask. Don't act like there's nobody at all discussing it. No, if you came across my channel, I've been discussing it for over a year. If you didn't get the point of what I've been discussing, that's your problem. You might want to fix it. You might want to fix your problem because it's a problem I don't have. You see what I'm saying? For myself, I don't have problems with healthcare. I was just at the damn doctor's, just at the dentist the other day. That doesn't get paid for. I'm not paying for that. Comes out of the taxes. That's my kids. You see what I'm saying? Other healthcare issues. You know, I'm not struggling to get it done. It's taken care of on a communal level. Everybody pays in for everybody's kid. Everybody pays in for everybody's mama. Everybody pays in for everybody's old ass daddy. Everybody pays in for everybody. And it turns out to be cheaper when you do it that way. It turns out to be half or more than half of what Americans pay for the same damn coverage, the same damn medical coverage that they just want to pay by themselves. Well, guess what? You're going to look like a damn fool trying to pay all these things that are just ridiculous to pay in the first place when you ain't got no damn real money anyway. You're just an average American. What's up? Yeah, Donnie. See, the election now, it's a year ago. I've been here talking about this shit a year ago, right? Now the election is here, you know, and folks gonna have to make a political choice about it. And yeah, and their political choices, Donald Trump or Kamala Harris. But I'm gonna tell you, for me, it ain't no choice. You know what I'm saying? Because even though I don't live in the US, I have health care. So why that even and I still vote though, but I don't live in the US, but I have health care. All my health care needs are met. Now, why the hell would I vote for going backwards? I would never vote. I would never vote backwards for my American sisters and brothers. I would never want them to have less than I have. Why do so many Americans want another American to have less than them? What is that about? What's that about? Have they been taught to think that way?
That comes from slavery.
You know what I'm saying? Like, where is this coming from?
That's the divide and conquer of slavery. That's what I was taught it was from.
It's crazy because you could have a person walking around worried about somebody else having as much as them, and neither one of you got shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like, where's the competition in that? You know what I'm saying? It's called beating the beater, trying to compete against somebody who's just like you on the same level as you, has gone through the same thing as you. Instead of competing with them, why don't you lock arms with them?
Did you hear the thing with Jermaine Dupri and about Kamala Harris? He's not backing Kamala.
Jermaine Dupri, shut the hell up.
Yeah, I think he's backing Trump. I didn't see it all because I was busy today.
You know what? Listen, if Americans want to commit suicide, there's plenty of people that would applaud that. North Korea, China, Russia, and there's some other people that Iran's going to applaud the United States voting for Trump. Iran's going to love that one. A lot of people are going to love it. But here's the thing. When Americans vote for Trump, they're not voting for nothing. They're not voting for cheaper health care. They're not voting for housing insurance. They're not voting for paid schools when they vote for Trump. They're not voting for nothing. That's the crazy part about it. And Kamala Harris and the Democrats can sit up there and tell you, this is what you deserve. This is what we want to get. This is what other people are doing. Why can't you have this? We need to have this. You work hard enough. You suffer enough. And then somebody like Trump comes along and offers you nothing. And there's people out there talking about, I'm going to vote for Trump. Man, look, Jermaine Dupri, if you don't have enough sense, first of all, Jermaine Dupri is a scam artist. I'm just going to tell you that, because entertainers, they travel the world, and if they had any good inclination, they would observe and come back to American people and report to them and tell them what life is like everywhere else. But entertainers, a lot of entertainers, maybe I should take that back, because a lot of them just come to town one day to perform and get some money in their pocket and they leave. Nothing they really doing is about their own countrymen. Entertainers don't share information from places that they travel. So everything is of a personal benefit to themselves. But all I gotta say is that I don't know who Jermaine Dupri is talking about, but Jermaine Dupri, I don't know if you have it, and I don't know if anybody else in your family has it, and I know most people in Atlanta don't have what I have. That's called universal health care for the same taxes you pay. Why I got it and you don't? How come I got it living in another country as an American and you don't in America, the most powerful country on earth? Get the fuck out of here. That logic don't work. How many homeless people are in the United States of America, Jermaine Dupri? How come other people with the same amount of tax dollars have found a way to deal with homelessness and the United States is still struggling with it? Why is that? Why is that? How come, Jermaine Dupri, you trying to tell me that you think out of all the taxes that you pay right now, and the taxes that really, entertainment tax ain't changed in 50 years? Entertainment taxes, you pay a lot in entertainment tax. People pay a lot, but that's got nothing to do with inflation. Entertainers have always paid higher taxes, right? But look, wouldn't you want your neighbors who aren't entertainers, the mothers who actually get up and work 2 jobs every day, wouldn't you want them to have better access to childcare? Wouldn't you want them to have better access to health care? Jermaine Dupri, you ain't looking at the numbers, bro. So go ahead and vote for Trump. I don't even give a shit. I have no faith in Jermaine Dupri. No faith at all. No faith that he would be an intellectual. No faith that he would care about other people in his community. My inclination, and I'm not trying to diss him personally, but my inclination is just another selfish brother. Basically, you see what I mean? I mean, it's just that, you know. But I don't even want to spend time dealing with entertainers that even going to entertain Trump. You know, some
But
people want to be shocking.
you know,
Some
what
people
his problem
would,
is?
would commit suicide and say, first, before I jump, turn the camera on so everybody can watch me because I need some attention. But go ahead. What's the
But
problem, Bill?
the problem is with Kamala. He says he wants to know, and this is what I hear a lot of people saying. Says she was the vice president, she didn't do anything for black people. That's because they need a civics class. Because
Yes.
I remember
Look, stop,
freshman
Bev.
year
Hold
in
on,
high
hold on,
school.
Bev, hold on. These people that are saying that's because they're so stupid. They think something for black people needs to be in a rapper called Black. They think whatever it is for black people needs to be wrapped in a rapper that's black. That's what they think. They're so stupid.
Yeah,
But the truth of the matter is, black people need the same shit every other American fucking needs.
exactly.
What the hell? What
But
the
they
hell are
don't.
they talking about?
But they don't even understand how the system works.
Look,
The 3 branches
they
of
don't.
government.
They don't, because
They
look,
don't
it's
understand it
not
because the
it's not
and a
Kamala
lot of
Harris.
white people don't, and a lot of white kids don't understand it either.
Exactly. There's no difference between the dumbass black people and the dumbass white people. There's
It's
no
sure
difference. They're dumb.
they
You
don't
know, I mean,
understand the 3 branches of government.
they
I
don't.
remember that from freshman year civics class. We had to take a
Well,
civics class in high school, and the 3
exactly.
branches of government. The actually the to me the vice president is a figurehead more or less.
Listen. No. The people that don't know what the hell Kamala Harris has been doing is lazy ass people that haven't got their asses up to go research and find out. They think asking, well, what has she done, means you're looking. What the hell? Do you know why would Kamala Harris stop 1 second out of her day to explain to a person what she's been doing when she's been explaining the whole time and y'all been saying, yeah, but what about that one time? But where's your daddy from, Kamala? She's been explaining the whole time what she's been doing for over 20 something years, 30 years for, and people, the only thing they got to ask her is who her mama is. Those people don't want to know what the hell she's been doing. If you're asking who her mama is, you don't want to know what she's been doing because her mama is not what she's been doing. See, that's the problem.
Exactly.
They claim they want to know what she been doing. Yo, Jermaine Dupri, if you don't know what Kamala Harris has been doing, it's because you're dumb, brother. You're dumb.
He's basing it on the fact that she was vice president, but like I said, they need a civics class because I don't think they would want to know what the vice president is doing. That's a very limited role.
Just
A
because
very
you don't
limited.
know, don't mean they don't. First of all, anything you heard come out of Joe Biden's mouth, Kamala Harris been doing. Okay, that's what the vice president does. So it's so silly. She's going out doing the legwork for Joe Biden.
Exactly.
What the hell? That means before Joe Biden is going to this or meeting with this place, or if after he met another person, the vice president might give that person a call and say, hey, how we doing on this? You see what I mean? So it's like ridiculous. Have you ever been in an organization? Then learn what the vice president does in an organization. Have you ever been in a high school group? Well, learn what a vice president does in a high school. Learn, what the hell? They like, it's ridiculous. What have you done, Kamala Harris? What have you done? My God, that's the worst.
Her power as the vice president was very limited as far as, policies, but I think
Yeah,
she'll
you're
be
not the
good.
face of the policy. You're not the face of the policy. You're not the face of it. But that's all. That's all it is. You're just not the face of it, and you're not the one that signs off. You're not the president. It's not your decision, but it doesn't mean you're not You're not fighting for it. It doesn't mean you're not lobbying for it. It doesn't mean you're not lobbying to the president and lobbying to the public for the president. You see what I'm saying? And to
But
lobby means you have to know what you're talking about.
most people don't understand that. They think she has the same powers as the president.
Oh, now if they think it's just
No,
ridiculous.
that's what they do. I'm not saying that's true, but that's what they do. They think she has the same powers. And I try to tell them she's more or less, I think the presidency is more or less like a safeguard. If the president dies, like Roosevelt did, there's somebody who could step in.
Yeah, don't. It's true. It is. It is. That's one of the tasks. That's one of the many things. You know what I'm saying? But it's not like she's sitting up there all day saying, "I'm waiting for Joe Biden to die so I can do something." No, she's at work every day. Look, people. The first of all, it's not what you say; it's what you do. Look at Trump. Trump says a whole lot, but what does Trump really do? You see what I mean?
Nothing.
What is Trump doing right now? What job is
Nothing.
he doing right now?
Nothing.
You see what I'm saying? And they're worried about Kamala Harris, what Kamala Harris is doing. If you want to know what she's doing, do some research. That's the problem. If you haven't figured out that the vice president actually does have a job, it means you're just not reading. You're just not interested in knowing. No one could tell you that. You have to look it up. You have to read it for yourself because anyone that's going to tell you is just going to give you the basic breakdown. They're not going to give you the details, all the real nuts and bolts of it. I mean, people can look it up right now. Let me see something here. I mean, sometimes I don't like entertaining what,
Believe it or not, excuse me. Believe it or not, I didn't know who Kamala Harris was from a can of paint. I just actually learned about her, honestly, to be truthful. I just learned about her when Joe Biden stepped down and gave it to her. Then I started learning about her. I knew nothing about this woman. I'll be honest. But I looked it up and I learned about her. She's done a lot. She's done a lot. She started at the bottom and stuff, and she's come a long way and she's done a lot. And black men Black people always say she put black men in jail, and I tell them she
It's a
didn't put
lie.
no black man in
Look,
jail. The
you
black man put himself in there because he didn't learn how to keep his damn hands off
look,
of other
look
people.
but look at this. Look at this. If Kamala Harris put black men in jail, then what about the rest of these motherfuckers? You know, and that's the thing. You think, how did Kamala put motherfuckers in DC in jail? How did she put motherfuckers in Atlanta in jail? How did she put motherfuckers in New York in jail?
Sure
How,
didn't put
you see what I'm
Alpha
saying? You see
Martinez.
what I mean? She
She sure didn't
exactly.
put what's that guy from he just from DC
Rayful
oh
Evans.
Rayful,
Exactly.
she didn't put him in there. He put himself in there.
Exactly. You
They
see what
all
I
put
mean?
themselves in there.
Look, I don't describe it that way. I don't say you put yourself in there, but most of these people get out of jail and tell kids, don't do what I did. It wasn't worth it. If I knew what I known, I would have made different decisions. Most of them have the common sense and the dignity and the respect to tell young people, do not follow in their footsteps. You see what I mean? That
I'm
means,
not when I say that, I don't mean that that they're going out and doing they're happy. When I say they put themselves in jail, their actions, that's what I'm talking about.
right. What I
The
mean is,
actions got you into jail. Now they may get out of jail, they may get out of prison, and they, like you say, they gotta advocate, because I know guys that do that right here, that
yes.
in there. Yeah, you know, they used talked about something. They used to tell us
Look,
it ain't worth it.
listen. How are you going to be selling the amount of dope that Rayful Edmonds was selling and blame Kamala Harris for it?
No,
It
but
just
I
don't make
don't
no
think
damn sense.
it's not him. I've never heard Alpha Martinez or none of them say
What
that the
the hell?
prosecutor put him in jail. It's the people in the street, the people right now. That's what I'm talking about. Oh, I don't like her because they even
Look,
got some women say she put black men in jail. I'm like, what
prosecutors
the hell?
prosecutors don't write the laws. They prosecute the laws. You see what I mean? So she wasn't there when they're talking about that. They're like, she put him in jail.
Exactly.
Man, what are you
That's
talking
what I'm
about?
talking about.
She didn't just put them in jail. She put white people in jail too.
Oh,
Hispanics in jail too. She put because that's what prosecutors do. What prosecutor you see ain't put all kinds of people in jail?
exactly.
You know,
That's
it
what
doesn't
I'm
make any
talking.
sense. It's just
That's the
ridiculous, you know? And on top of that, it's like, well, hey, so what do you think Trump is going to do? I mean, Trump is running around telling you he wants to put protesters in jail. So, I mean, you know, it's just unfair. They found one thing 20, 30 years ago to stop them from listening to anything else a person says. And that's just called being hard-headed and stupid. You know, if the Ku Klux Klan came up to their house right now, they would be doing some listening. You see what I'm saying?
I don't get it.
They would listen to anybody else on any given day of the week because that's just how it is. But when it comes to that's not called. They're not even asking a real question. They worried about who her mama is. They're
The,
not really worried
the
about her
stupid
record.
stuff. The
Right.
stupid stuff.
Exactly.
That ain't benefiting us.
They say they worried about who her mama is, but they ain't worried about who their neighbor's mama is, who they get help from every day of the week. That's okay though. If you get help from somebody else any other day of the week outside of your ethnicity, that's okay. But they want to know who Kamala Harris' mother is. It's like when all she wants is your vote over laws and legislation so she can help everyday people. It's like, it's ridiculous. You know, no politician could be, you know, it's just ridiculous that the focal points they want to make about Kamala Harris. I mean, and a lot of them are just damn lies. Look at this. This is what a vice president does. Is it playing?
What?
Oh, hold on. Here it is. Sorry.
The role of a vice president, VP, can vary significantly depending on the context, whether in government, business, or other organizations. Here's an overview of the VP's role in different contexts. 1. Vice president of a country. In a governmental context, the vice president, especially in a presidential system like that of the United States, typically has the following responsibilities: succession, The VP is the first in line to assume the presidency if the sitting president is unable to perform their duties due to death, resignation, impeachment, or incapacitation. Presiding officer. The VP often serves as the presiding officer of the upper chamber of the legislature, e.g., the U.S. Senate, where they can cast a tie-breaking vote. Advisor. The VP often serves as a close advisor to the president, providing input on a wide range of issues. Diplomatic role. The VP may represent the country in diplomatic settings, both domestically and internationally. Special assignments. Depending on the administration, the VP might be assigned specific policy areas or initiatives. 2. Vice president in a
There you
corporation.
go. So, to a lot of people some people that may not sound like a lot, just this right here. Succession, presiding officer over the upper chamber. That means the meetings, right? Pretty much the legislative meetings. Okay. You have to be a legislator to do that. That means you have to know the law and research the law every day. You see what I'm saying? What are you talking about? They're sitting there talking about, she don't do nothing. What does she do? She's there. She's doing a whole lot every day. You just don't know. By the way, what the fuck is Biden doing? Do you even know what Biden is doing? Do you know what Trump was doing? Do you know if Trump lifted a finger to do anything? Do you know how that's like? No, nobody can know totally what's going on unless you're in the room having the discussions as an advisor, as a appointee, as these kind of things. You don't know, but they have different positions, different people. And there's a lot of people advising the president, and there's a lot of people facilitating, going out, doing the bidding of the president. So when the president says, hey, we got this agenda going on, you're following up on that agenda, making sure that things are in place, making sure communicating about it, finding out what help these people need to get the agenda covered, done, following up the legwork. That's basically typical for VPs all over. You see, and it's the same when you're the VP of the country. So you're not just the next in line, but you're also doing the legwork. That's why you're able to be the next in line, because you know the job. So Kamala Harris has way more experience than Trump ever would be capable of having, because Trump has not made a commitment to civil service. He's just told you that he stopped getting rich for a second because he wanted to be the president. That was momentary. What's 8 years out of a 70-year-old man's life? What's 8 years? And he only did 4 as president. What's 4 years out of a 78-year-old man's life? That's not a commitment. You see what I'm saying? Donald Trump has not made a commitment to civil service. Civil servants don't get huge checks to do what they do every single day of the week. You see what I'm saying? They don't get paid millions of dollars for every single day of the week. That's not what they do. They get a salary to do their job, and they're up every single day of the week doing their job, even on the damn weekends a lot of the times. So I just really think it's low level conversation when people start questioning Kamala Harris about her record. No, you don't know who Kamala Harris is because you're lazy. That's what it is. Especially when you're a person like Jermaine Dupri. I think a lot of times these entertainers try to find different ways to get their name back out there, but Jermaine Dupri, you already had the life of an entertainer for a long time. It's over, man. Just move on and do something else. Find something else to do that brings you joy in life, but make a commitment to it, and don't just do it for money and personal gain. Sometimes it's okay to volunteer, and I don't mean one day out of a year at the soup kitchen. I'm talking about sometimes it's okay to volunteer in the state where you live, in the town where you live, helping people that have less than you and getting nothing back for it. Sometimes that's okay, brother. Do it. Try it. It might open up some doors for you and open up some thinking, But in any case, I don't see I think Americans have been duped. The average American, I think the average American has been lied to. And I think you're seeing the effects of it, in a lot of the dialogue people are having. Because, I mean, how the hell can you, how the hell could these people be blaming Kamala Harris for all of this? God damn, I've never seen a worse boogeyman. They almost made her out to be the damn KKK. I mean, I've never seen this before. In fact, if you ask these same people right now, the KKK would be good in opposed to Kamala Harris. A lot of these people, they would say things like that. I don't know what fever is going on in these people's minds. I don't know what disinformation has made them paranoid. But calling something reparations, I think the thing that people should expect to come in a black package should be reparations. But that's not something specific for Kamala Harris. That's something specific they should be asking of all people. All, not just Kamala Harris. How come they not asking if they want something in a black wrapper specific for black people? That's reparations. Why don't you ask Trump what his stance is on reparations? That's what you do in an election. You ask both parties what their stance is on it. But they haven't asked Trump anything about black people. There's nothing. Can you recall one thing that Trump came out and said, this I'm doing for black people? And, that is actually some legislation. Did he cut taxes? What did he do? What did he do that didn't benefit other people? This thing about the land, what is this? The opportunity zones, that benefited other people. That wasn't specifically for black people at all. In fact, mostly other people benefited from that. But yet black people were walking around talking about it. Opportunity zones, opportunity zones. You got to have a leg up to even get in on that opportunity in the first place. Yeah. Any case, I guess I just wanted to get that off of my mind, Bev. I'm here today to just talk plain language, to talk facts, what I get for my taxes versus what you get for yours. What I get for my taxes living in the EU as an American citizen versus what an American gets for their taxes living in the United States of America. That's what I came to talk about. Something people can, actually do something with, some real information, something to strive for. And what I get out of my taxes, I pay 36. Or in all, I pay 39% in taxes, Bev. You know that? Of
Um,
my yeah, and
I
all
can imagine.
yeah, but that's all. That's like all of it together. All taxes. You see what I'm saying? Is 39%. That's federal, that's state, communal, that's all of it. That's sales tax on good, all of that stuff. You see what I'm saying? When you
Yeah.
walk, yeah, all of it together, I pay 39%. I get universal health care for my children, housing insurance. I get what else do I get? Oh, paid education for my kids. Right? They get paid to go to school. Right? I'm not paying it. They get paid to go to school. You see? I get clean drinking water. Right? What else do I get? I mean, Jesus, I got most of the jobs where I'm at are union jobs. Most of the places are union. Even McDonald's where I'm at is a union job. You see what I mean? So I get a fair wage. So I pay my taxes and I get a fair wage to pay my taxes. You see what I'm saying? But the truth of the matter is that in places like DC, people paying an income tax 33%, right? Something like that. Then on top of that, they pay another tax. They pay one tax to the state government, one tax to the federal government. Then every time they buy something, they pay a sales tax. Who does that go to? The state, right? You still there, Bev, or what?
Yeah, I'm still here. They
I mean,
go.
am I getting this right?
Yeah, you getting it all right. I'm sitting here listening.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure. I'm just trying to make sure because I know it might be a percent higher or lower in different states and
Oh,
things like
I
that, right?
don't know. I don't know any of the math and the stuff like that, but I know I pay a lot of taxes and don't get too much of nothing because
Yeah,
I'm
how much do
shopping
you
for
pay
a
in income
dentist
tax?
right now.
Hold on, let me ask chat. What does the average pay? Okay, what does the average U.S. citizen pay in income tax? Okay, let me see here. Right, they have it broken down into different categories, but that's good. They're doing that now. Now look, here you go. Right now we're getting there. 37% on income over 500,000 or 600,000 and married. Right. So if you're married, 600,000, you're paying 37%. Let me see, 35% if it's 200,000. That's my bracket, right? So I'm between what in the US you would pay 32. I would pay 32 between 32 and 35%, right? Because of my income bracket or something. Now, let me see here. That's federal income tax. So in the US, you could pay between 10%, it depends on how much you make in federal taxes, right? Or up to 37% in federal taxes. Now, that's that's federal tax. Now then you have a state tax to also pay. And the state tax could be, they have different taxes on top of it. Flat taxes. Colorado has a flat tax rate, 4%. Um, So let's see here. Combined federal and state tax. Uh, for an average U.S. citizen earning around 70,000 per year, federal income tax they may pay between 8,000. Right, but what's the percentage? Okay, it will result in an effective tax rate of around 17 to 20% in their local income taxes. Right, so they say that's 20%, but what you have to pay outside of this after that is what? What are the services you have to pay for? You see, what are you getting inside of that? I mean, something's not right there. How much you think you should pay for healthcare?
Nothing.
How much you think you should pay for education?
Nothing.
I mean, where does this? So, I mean, what is? I'm gonna have to find another way to look this up because there's different ways they do some comparison. Let me see something here. Uh, right. Here we go. In contrast, U.S. combined rate is 15.3%. European rates range between 13. Exactly. Actually, yo, Europeans may even be paying a little less in some cases for more. And that's really what it is. And a lot of the sham comes up. Look at this. ELCD 34 tax rate 34%, right? That's the average. That's around what I pay. And then I pay also a little bit for some other things, but that brings mine up to 39. But dag on, man. I think this is the part. Here we go. I'll just put that in the chat for folks to see. Yeah, so I think people really need to think about what it is they get for their taxes and what it is they can have, while other nations are able to figure out how to provide more goods and services for the same amount, basically, and why some places aren't able to. Um, you know, I really myself, because I have family members and friends in the U.S., I always hear them coming into a health crisis. I always hear them coming into a housing crisis. I always hear them, talking about these things. And although we're talking about them where I'm at, in Copenhagen, and I've been in Copenhagen like for almost 20 years now. Check this out. I'll give you another example. When I moved from DC to Copenhagen, the cost of housing was essentially the same, right? The average uh, apartment would be around, for a family or something like that, start around $2,000 and up a month, right? Um, and that's basically around the same at that time. That's 20 years ago. But this is before COVID. This is even long before COVID. The inflation in DC had been going up. Who was that under? What president was that under? Who was that? You see what I mean? So actually now, if you try to get for $2,000, you can't even get an apartment in DC, but you can still get one in Copenhagen. That means inflation, it went up a little bit here, but it didn't go up as much as it went in the US. Why is that? Why do you think that is, Bev? Do you think that's like, how do you factor
What
that?
was the question?
How does how did inflation hit the US harder than it hit Europe?
Well, my opinion
That's
is,
odd, right?
yeah, it's kind of hard to think, but my opinion, this bout of inflation, I think it's because Donald Trump mishandled everything. The high he gave his wealthy buddies and himself a major tax cut.
Yeah.
And he didn't think. I think that's what that has. I could be wrong. I haven't really been into this stuff like I should be, because I believe if Donald Trump hadn't came in there, I would have never had to get into it. 'Cause he screwed everything up. And we got a mayor here in my hometown where he screwed up. He excuse my expression, but he fucked up the city with letting a big corporation, realty corporation, come in here. And the place where I'm at, I haven't moved yet. I'll be moving in another week. In 2 weeks I'll be moving. And now that one of the congressmen, Bill Pascarella, who used to be the mayor of Patterson, he died, and now he's saying he's going to run for his seat, because we have a lot, and in government too. I notice now, since Trump's been in, we have a lot of opportunists, people who are opportunists, who use like municipal governments and go municipal government to get to a higher office, and they don't care. They don't care what happens to the people, the constituency in the cities they leave behind. So I think all of that plays into it too. I could be wrong. I don't really know that much about it. I'm honest enough to say I don't really know that much about a lot of
You know
stuff.
what it is? You know what it is, Bell? It's because they have they regulate the cost of goods here more than in the US. You know, it would not corporations are not seeking to benefit off of the crises. In the United States, corporations have been seeking to benefit off of the crises. So they haven't brought prices down. They're still operating like they're in emergency mode, when in all actuality, they're making hand over fist more money than they were ever before,
Well,
and I think this is what Americans, they blame the Democrats for. But what you're talking about ultimately is something that Republicans support. Republicans don't want these things being regulated. It's not the Democrats, it's the Republicans. You see, the Republicans don't want to tell the billionaire how much money he can charge. They don't want to tell the corporation how much you can charge the average person for a can of tomato paste. See, they don't want to tell them, hey, you know what? You're making a killing off of this tomato paste. Don't you think you could charge a little less and everybody would still be happy and everyday person could get a little food in their mouth? No, they're not doing that. You see, that's, I think, overall what they're looking at. And so they're not making a lot of sense, because while they criticize countries that control the pricing of goods in emergencies. At
I
the
don't know.
time they're criticizing it, they're complaining about not having it themselves. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's what they're actually doing. It's a mind fuck. It's like they're criticizing the EU for controlling prices, bring prices down so to avoid inflation so people can afford food. They're criticizing the nations that do that. At the same time, they're complaining about not having it themselves. So what Americans are seeing right now is not due to the Democrats. What they're seeing right now is due to having an open market that's not regulated, that doesn't keep pricing down, that doesn't tell somebody they can't charge an arm and a leg for something that's worth nothing. You see, that's the overall problem as I see it. They're criticizing something that they actually want, but you can't have it both ways. If you want prices to be controlled, you have to implement legislation. If you want to control how much a rich person, a billionaire, can make off of a poor person, you must introduce legislation. You can't just talk about it. You got to do it. It has to be law binding. You see? And I think that's where a lot of Americans dupe themselves, because they haven't figured out that, wait a second, you could be what's the point in being the richest country in the world if you have some of the poorest people in the world too? They haven't figured out that's not a good thing. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
There's a point where it doesn't make sense anymore, and they haven't reached a healthy balance. There's no, the balance is out of control, I think, with the corporations in the US, and they're getting more power. You're seeing rich people like Elon Musk become more bold in their actions. I mean, some of these rich people, I'm gonna tell you right now, they would try to overthrow the government. They wouldn't tell you, but if there's something they don't like in the US, the rich folk, the wealthy, not all of them, but some of them, it's the government they don't like, because they see the government as, a person like Biden is not a billionaire. Trump sees himself as a billionaire. So he says, why should I even have to listen to this dude, Biden? Why should I even have to listen to Kamala Harris? They're not as rich as me. That's literally what's going on in the US right now. Rich people are replacing Democratic and replacing the Constitution, essentially. They're making it about how rich people are. The rich people are doing good. They must have worked harder, when obviously, in a world where people get exploited, rich people don't always work harder. Sometimes they exploit more people. That's not working harder. Exploiting more people is not working harder. You see?
I don't know.
Yeah. I think it's some values going on, man. It's going to be an interesting election cycle. But I ain't
Very
begging.
interesting.
Yeah. It's sad. I know I should sound more empathetic, but sometimes when you talk to people, after a while, you just start saying, okay, well, if that's what you want, then that's what you want. Even if it might not be the best choice for them, sometimes you got to let them have it before they figure that out for themselves.
Right.
So if Americans don't want universal health care, okay, you don't want universal health care. Nobody going to force you. You're not forced to have it. It should be a personal decision, but no one's forcing you. You don't have to have it. You don't have to have cheaper medical bills. You don't have to. You can have more expensive ones. It's a choice, You don't have to have affordable housing. You don't have to. It's a choice. You could have more expensive housing if you like. That's an option. If you want that option, choose Trump.
You use Trump. I don't know. Like I said,
I ain't voting for Trump. I'm not voting for Trump. But no matter who the president of the United States is, I'm an American citizen anyway. but I don't live in the U.S., so it's not affecting my health care. They can
You
vote.
can't vote.
Yeah, I can vote. What are you talking about? But it doesn't affect my health care where I live.
Oh, okay. I
You
I
see what I'm saying?
I took that the wrong way. I
Yeah,
get
yeah.
what you mean.
I vote. I'm voting shit. I was just trying to figure out how to get my ballot yesterday. I was catching up on doing my taxes too. From 23, I was behind doing them for last year, so I was just doing that yesterday, and also preparing to get my ballot. So I have to actually print out my request today, and then send it in, and then I should get it back from the DC election board sometime soon enough to vote. But for this election, but it doesn't matter for me if it's Trump or Kamala Harris. The fact that I don't live in the U.S. as an American citizen, I'm not losing anything. They're not taking my health care from me. The universal health care I have is not taken from me by Trump. Never could be. The housing insurance I have as an American citizen living outside of the US, Trump can't take. You see, the wage that my kids will get paid to go to school to educate themselves, Trump can't fuck with. He can only fuck with American citizens living in the United States. You see what I'm saying? In terms of these things, these social benefits from the taxes. You see what I'm saying? So let me see. What's Donnie talking about? Dang, VP can't be behind, brother. What you mean, Donnie? I'm just like, oh, behind. Yeah, you talking about on the taxes? Yeah, for 23, I was late this time. Officially, I was late, but you know, uh, yeah. Well, it's me contacting them, so it's all done now. It's done electronically. Um, but I had to do it. It's not my Danish tax. It's not the tax I do here, but I have to translate it and report it to the U.S. also still as a dual citizen. I mean, not dual citizen, dual resident. So I still have to file the taxes, but even though I don't pay any to them, I don't owe them anything. Um, but yeah, man, it was late, and sometimes I've been behind on that. I was behind on filing my U.S. tax, but I did that because I was like, wait a second, I don't want. Who knows? Like, think about this. There was a COVID check that went out, right? Like 3 COVID checks. If you didn't pay your taxes, and if you didn't file your taxes in the last few years or something like that, you wouldn't get that COVID check. I actually got all 3 COVID checks, but it's because I was up to date on reporting my taxes to the U.S., to the DC, and the federal government. You see what I'm saying? Even though I live outside of the U.S., you still get those benefits. But yeah, folks, it's just a little bit of talk. Um, I hope that everyday people, get ahead of the disinformation. And also, the closer it gets to the election and somebody say some stupid shit, don't be afraid,
That's when I smack the shit out you. I smack the shit out. That's when
because these are dangerous times. Stupid talk can cost people a lot. Stupid talk. Asking shit like who Kamala Harris' mother is, that's stupid talk in dangerous times. Claiming to not know what Kamala Harris done in 4 years. Man, Kamala Harris doesn't know what you fucking did in 4 years, the last 4 years. Why are you acting like you just automatically supposed to know what she done in 4 years without researching? No one's going to know what you did the last 4 years without researching. You know what I'm saying? And people just like think that they supposed to know what Kamala Harris did because they was born out of somebody's vagina one day, and they just said, I'm supposed to automatically know. You're supposed to come and hand serve me, what Kamala Harris been doing for the last 4 years. Come and tell me when she signed in the morning to work, when she signed out. Let me see her paperwork from her job. See what reports she been writing, y'all. People act like, oh, they don't need to use any effort themselves to find out what Kamala Harris has been doing. If you don't know what Kamala Harris has been doing, it's because you don't fucking want to know. Okay? It's called
Yeah.
not research. Okay? When you want to know something, you do some goddamn research on it. Stop rocking around on the internet now talking about you don't know what. No, you know. There's no excuse at this point to not know. You know what she's been doing. And when you say her name, if you cannot recite the good with those few bad lines you got to say that you're going to repeat over like a broken record, right? If you can't say some good things, then just shut the fuck up too, because she's done a whole lot of heaping of good things. You know, it's not just bad. It's not just one or two bad things. And on top of this, if your ass ain't from California, then stop talking about she done locked black men up. Shit, she ain't locked black men up in Atlanta. She ain't locked black men up in DC. She didn't lock black men up in New York. She didn't lock black men. Come on. Where are all the other politicians you mad at? You ain't mad at none of the other politicians that's actually doing it right now, locking people up? You ain't got no problem with that, though. You see what I'm saying? Well, Kamala Harris, she was a prosecutor how many years ago? Prosecutors don't write the laws. They prosecute them. You know who writes the laws? The legislator. You know who votes for the legislator? The people. You voted for people that passed laws to penalize. That's what you did, California people. That's what happened. You know, so get your brain wrapped around it. You know, that's how it works. It wasn't Kamala Harris personally. And on top of that, she's not personally responsible for your ass. If you don't want to better yourself, she's not personally responsible. You see what I'm saying?
But
And go ahead. Go ahead.
you see that program she started for first time after I forget what was she was the attorney general. After she was the prosecutor, she became the attorney general. If I'm not mistaken,
Right. I
she
believe so.
started a program from criminals. You know, people who were first time offenders
Yeah.
of a non-violent crime, and set them up in training classes, everything. Help
Exactly. They don't talk about
and
that
everything. And I never hear anybody say she did that.
They don't, Beverly. They're talking. Look, after a while, because this conversation, you know, it's gone on for since people heard Kamala Harris running with Biden the first time, right? So it's gone on for 4 years now. This conversation for 4 years, you know, they're not talking about any of those things that she has done that were positive, basically because they're racist and or bigots about her ethnicity and who
Well,
her mother is.
wait a
And
minute now.
she's a woman.
This is a
Go
question I
ahead.
want to ask you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you said the white people. I understand they're racist.
No, I'm talking about I ain't talking about the white. I'm talking black people can be bigoted too. They are bigoted.
That's why I was getting ready to ask you. What about the black folks?
No, but that's it's the ones. The black people that's talking about Kamala Harris are bigots. They don't realize they are. They are bigots. They talking about who her mother is has nothing to do with it. You want to know who her mother's ethnicity is? It's because you're a bigot. You know, why does that matter? You don't want to know who Trump's mother is? You don't want to know who Trump's wife is. He done buried his wife off in a goddamn golf a golf place or some shit. You know, they don't want to know none of these things about Trump. His damn daddy was hanging out with the KKK. They don't give a damn about Trump. You know, these people that are criticizing Kamala will let Trump get away with anything. So it's obviously they're bigots and they're misogynists because she's a woman. I mean, think about this. All the harm so many men have done, and they find a woman that did maybe one thing that they didn't like, and they hold that one thing against her for 30 fucking years. That's misogynistic. You have to be a misogynist to not let go of it. It's like, what you want? A woman proving that she's better than you every step of the fucking day of the week for 30 fucking years? No, she ain't perfect. But goddamn, she definitely is nowhere what they're trying to make her out to be. She's actually been pretty good, you know?
Exactly.
I mean, shit, but there's always going to be some criticism, you know? There's always going to be some criticism because that comes with the job. You know what I'm saying? But fair criticism is what we need. We don't need misogynistic criticism, you know? We don't need bigoted criticism. She can't help who the hell her mother is. She's just trying to survive in this fucking world. She can't help who her father is. She wasn't the one who birthed herself. She didn't make that decision. Somebody else did. So why would they hold that against her? Only a bigot does that. You see what
I
So
don't know. I don't know. I really don't know.
no, it's nothing. It's bigoted. It's the same thing when look, a bigot can't complain about a bigot. Number one, that's the craziest part about it. But in this case, you have that. You have a person that claims they're the victims of bigotry, being bigoted to someone else. The same rules that they don't like, they're willing to employ on another. That's
I should be more up on things like that, but I'm not as up as I should be.
it's crazy. That's why people been saying stay away from this talk about Caribbeans and they different. That's why people been saying this FBA shit is not going to work. It's stupid. It's bigoted because in practical terms it doesn't work. It's not correct. Practically on its base it is not correct. It has nothing FBA has nothing to do with black history and there is no foundational black American. It's crazy. It's black people from different parts that came and were slaves. And at every point, every year after, they brought some more from another place that became slaves and brought some more the year after from another Caribbean place that became slaves in the United States too. So what the hell are they talking about? It's been black people migrating to the United States or being brought there to the United States the entire time. What about people that came in the 1800s that weren't slaves? You got a problem with their ancestors too? And I'm saying this as a person that has ancestors that were slaves. My great grandmother was born on a slave plantation. You see what I'm saying? So I'm totally down with the idea of you know, reparations, but being bigoted is not going. You know what they turned out the concept, the conversation of reparations into? These FBA people turned it into this. They turned it into, oh, you ain't getting none of my reparations. They turned it into one of those conversations. That's so stupid because the only people that could qualify for reparations in the first place are the people that can prove they have ancestors that fucking went through slavery here in the fucking United States of fucking America. You know,
Uh,
when Americans are, when United States Americans are talking about legislation on reparations, they're not talking for the Jamaican government. They're not talking for the Danish government. They're not talking for the UK government. They're talking for their own fucking people in their own state, in their own nation. And these people turn it into, you Jamaicans ain't getting none of my reparations. Man, ain't nobody fucking talking about anybody getting none. It doesn't make any sense. They always take the conversation somewhere else. It has nothing to do with nothing. You see, and that's the same place they took it with Kamala Harris too. The same exact place to a space where it has nothing to do with nothing. Won't do anybody any good. Won't have any consequence. Won't make their life better. Won't even make her life worse. But then you got Trump, and they ain't got nothing to say about Trump.
they ain't never got nothing to say about Trump.
Nothing. Hold on, let me see here. BP, any thoughts on Hillary Clinton? Oh yeah, let's do that. Let's go into the speeches. You know what? I did listen to Hillary's speech, and I didn't listen to I didn't listen to Bill Clinton's speech, but I listened to Hillary Clinton's speech. I'm gonna probably go back and listen to Bill Clinton's speech. I mean, some people told me it was good, but I liked her speech. I liked her speech, and overall, I think they do the same thing with Hillary. I think she was like, I didn't like. Don't get me wrong. I didn't think Hillary Clinton should have been the person running against Trump in the first place. I didn't think that. I thought she was going to lose if they put her up against Trump, and that's what happened. But she won the majority vote, and so that's clear. But still, I wouldn't have done it that way. I'm not a fan of. I'm not a type of person that believes that if your husband or your wife was president, that you need to be the president next. I don't agree with that. So that's why I wasn't for Hillary Clinton at all. And for me, it's 350 million people, Americans. Spread it around. There's enough people that should have the possibility to be American. It shouldn't be a closed circle. So, but I didn't hold that against her. It's not her fault Bill Clinton was the president. So she's qualified. Hillary's qualified. But her speech, I didn't see anything bad with it. I thought it was, I mean, people were talking about lock Trump up. People were saying, lock him up, lock him up. And that's what Trump said about her. And Trump alleged that she did things that have never been proven. They made up lies about Hillary Clinton, but what makes me wonder is some of the lies you hear people making up lies. Some people's going around talking about she was drinking blood on Epstein Island. I mean, how fucking far do you have to go? Do you say things like that when you yourself don't know? It's the most ridiculous. Y'all, what was going on Epstein's Island is what men have been doing for eons. That is raping girls. Okay? There was no baby blood drinking. That's not what's been going on for eons. What's been going on for eons is men raping girls. That's what was going on the island. You don't have to turn it into something else so to spookify it and make it a conversation nobody can do nothing about. No. You see what I mean? And some of the I mean, nah, man, it's a lot of people that say those things. It's a lot of people that say those things. And it unfortunately they can't prove none of that themselves, but they go down that rabbit hole and commit themselves to it, which is mental abuse, I would call it. But if that's your thing, you're welcome to do it yourself. But I'm not doing it. You see what I mean? We know for a fact it's more likely that men been doing what men been doing the whole time, and that's raping women on Epstein's Island. Men haven't been known, women have not been known to go to islands and drink blood. I mean, that's not a typical thing. So, you know what I'm saying? So I'm not gonna put that on Hillary. You know what I'm saying? But
don't put it on Hillary.
You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't
Hillary
put that
got
on.
the last laugh. They didn't want her, but they took Donald. Now they're glad they're getting rid. Now they keep trying their best to get rid of him out the party. And I said, boy, that is some kind of karma. And did you see Joe Biden's speech?
Bring that up. Yeah, go ahead. Keep talking.
Joe Biden's speech at the convention. He was his old self. He even looked better since he's been resting more.
Oh, who are you talking about?
No, I was saying, look at Hillary got her she got her revenge on Trump. And I was just saying how they did Joe Biden, how they thought, it was gonna be crazy shoe-in for winning, but he didn't. So she got her revenge.
Yes. I thought it was. Here, let's check it out. Let's check it out to give a little reminder.
Kamala locked up murderers and drug traffickers. She will never rest in defense of our freedom and safety. Donald Trump fell asleep at his own trial. And when he woke up, he made his own kind of history. The first person to run for president with 34 felony convictions. As vice president, Kamala sat in the Situation Room.
Yeah, and I feel the same way. Shit. Who the heck wants to? I mean, there's no reason why any person would want Trump anywhere around them if he's just not giving them a check. Period. Flat out. Because any other thing is in danger. You know, people are even, I mean, some of the things that are coming out about Trump, you know, they seem scarier than what people led on to in the beginning. I mean, you know, people knew about his relationship with Epstein, but people don't naturally want to believe bad things about other people. That's not what people naturally want to do, you know? So when people hear Trump was good friends with Epstein for 15 years, partied with him, when they hear that a young woman accused Trump of raping her with Epstein, a young woman, a woman who was a minor at the time she claims the assault happened, said that Epstein and Trump raped her. People don't naturally want to believe these things, but the problem is that with Trump, with his record over and over and over, after a while, come on, Diane Carroll, right? She won the case, civil case against him for sexual assault. When he was running for office the first time, he's on his campaign bus where he's saying, "Hey, you can do it. Just grab him by the booties. Just grab him by the booties." You know, he's saying these things. At some point, you have to start believing that this might be worse than what you think. You see what I mean? Look, is Trump's wife standing by his side? When he's going to court, he went to court. Look, the Stormy Davis thing is when he was running for the presidency, right? And he was married to Melania, right? Wasn't that? Hold on, let me see something.
Who, Melania? I'm not sure.
Was
He
it
did
Melania?
so much.
Did he cheat on?
It's so hard to keep up with Trump and what he did and what he didn't do.
Did Trump cheat on Melania? I mean, it ain't the first time he cheated. But let me just make sure I got this right here. Yes, it was Melania. Yep, it was Melania, and it was Stormy Daniels. So Stormy Daniels, he cheated on Stormy Daniels with his current wife before when he was on his way to run for office, just before he even decided it happened. And that happened in 2000. Yeah, exactly, because Cohen was his lawyer, right? So after a while, you kind of have to believe, like, because this is not a young guy either, so you can't blame it on his age, right? This is a 70-year-old man talking about grab him by the booties, and he cheated on the wife that he brought into the White House just before he brought her into the White House.
I just can't get over that man and his mouth. I can't
And she's not standing by him right now. She's not standing by him right now. She ain't nowhere to be found. She don't want nothing to do with it. You know? So
that's what it is.
Yeah. So after a while, you got to just start believing the shit that you hear, you know, because it keeps popping up over and over and over again. That's not Kamala Harris's record. That's Donald Trump's record.
You know? I don't know. I don't think it's ever. I think he's like a bad cough, a bad rash or something. We stuck with it. We stuck with him.
I mean, he's definitely a representative of the United States of America, like the social group, the society. You know, the United States produced Donald Trump. So it's something about the people that produce him. Just like they produced Kamala Harris, just like they produced Joe Biden, just like they produced me. You got to live with the fact that they produced Trump too. And we ain't the same. So whatever it is that was there that helped create Donald Trump, I suggest Americans get to fixing that thing. You know what I'm saying? Neuter it, cut it or clip it, because you can't survive another Donald Trump.
You know? Oh, hell no.
You ain't going to survive it. You're not going to survive it.
It
You know,
don't it don't take a rocket scientist to know that. Stevie Wonder can see right through that. You know. Oh no,
exactly.
Donald Trump, we ain't doing. Nah, we
Look at
can't do
this.
Donald.
Look, they said the dude posted 59 times during Harris. This dude posts more than we post, and we got
Are
it.
you a high income
We
earner?
on social media. He's posted more than us. 59 times during the and whoever it is, if it's him or not, I think it's him because whoever it is has a poor hold on the English language. But look here.
After both Democrats and Republicans attacked Trump throughout the convention, he responded in the completely mature way, he always does. During Vice President Harris's acceptance speech, Trump had a complete meltdown on Truth Social, posting, get ready for this, 59 times. Then dialing into Fox and offering a bizarre and rambling retort to her speech. And just last night in Arizona, telling his truth about the DNC, filled with dis and misinformation.
Barack Hussein Obama. He was nasty to me. He was nasty. Michelle was nasty. They're all nasty. Nasty people. Kamala mentioned my name, I think, 21 times. She didn't mention the border. She didn't mention inflation. She didn't mention anything but my name over and over and over again.
I guess he didn't see the segment where they taught everyone how to pronounce her name. Joining us now, former Virginia Republican Congressman Denver Riggleman. He also served as a senior advisor to the January 6th Select Committee.
Did they not pay for good Wi-Fi at the Trump rally? Why was the picture so grainy? They really, I don't know, maybe some money troubles going off to his legal issues. Congressman, Donald Trump, look at the graininess of it all. I am very struck by the fact that Donald Trump seemed quite disturbed by Vice President Harris's remarks, so much so that he called into Fox News after the fact, and he was beeping the cheek on the phone. I'll let y'all listen to it, and we'll chat on the other side.
She didn't talk about crime. She didn't talk about 70% of our people are living in poverty. She didn't talk about housing, really.
She said 70% of Americans. He said 70% of Americans are living in poverty. Fact or fiction? What? Yeah. You know what? Because Trump is allowed to use words differently.
No, he ain't. He say the gutter words like everybody else say. They just don't stop him. They stop us. Trump.
Let me see. What's the data say? It's 11.5%. But for the richest, and that equates to 37 million people, 11.5%. That's not 70%. But that's still for the richest country on earth. That's way too high. That shouldn't even exist. And what I liked about Tim Walz's, who was it who said this? It was somebody. I forget who said it. They said wage war on poverty. Yeah, that was Tim Walz. Yo, if you want to be tough on crime, be tough on poverty. Wage war on poverty. And see how quickly the crime problems solve itself. Crime is essentially, social scientists know this, crime is basically, for the most part, a byproduct of poverty.
Right.
It's inducing it in a lot of cases. So, but I like that part about his speech, Tim Walz's speech, that he was talking about poverty, talking about school lunch programs. Who doesn't want every kid to have lunch in school? Who doesn't want that? You see what I mean? Why isn't it that Trump is just saying that? Why doesn't Trump think that, hey, you know what? The federal government does need to make sure that every child that attends school has lunch, despite how much the family makes?
I don't know.
Why isn't that a good thing to want?
I really don't know.
That's American values for you right there. That's not American, but U.S. values right there. That's what I was talking about. a little twisted with this kind of thinking. Like, it's nothing wrong. In fact, there's everything intelligent, logical, and caring. Only the only thing that can happen from every kid having lunch is something good.
Mhm.
That's the only thing that can happen. You might stop a crime from happening just by making sure that every kid has lunch. Literally. Because how much lunch costs? You know, uh,
Right.
how do you, on one hand, complain about immigrants when you don't even want to give your own citizens a leg up? You don't want to. The best way to produce a U.S. citizen is to make sure that two American citizens have an easy time raising their goddamn kids. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Having a family, you know, you should make sure that they're having an easy time. But does Trump want that? Does he want families,
Don't want it.
American families, to have an easy time raising their kids? You know what I'm saying? So you can't have it both ways, you know? You can't have it both ways, And I wish they would get down with one or the other, but right now we know which one they're down with. They don't want the Republicans. Look, Republicans don't want kids to have free lunch. They don't want that. That's basically what it's been. But it's the richest country on earth that doesn't want that too. The
But
United States can never run from that. Yeah, go ahead.
we got a lot of this country needs a reorganization. Because
And you know something about that? The things, the facets in the societies in Europe that they have today, they built after the Marshall Plan, after the US government helped them rebuild through loans. It's called the Marshall Plan after World War II. You see what I'm saying? But they chose to build something for the people. Most, not all, but most of them in the EU did. You know what I'm saying? Most of them. It might vary from country to country, small things, because these aren't things that are enforced it's not enforced. These are things that they agree on generally, and maybe there's some small differences in how they implement or the implementation, but generally they all agree, school lunch, if you're paying for a kid to have lunch, that means everybody is saying this kid deserves a fair shot, a good start. That everybody believes every kid deserves a fair shot. You see what I mean? To be the best that they can be. And maybe if you're not able to help everybody's family directly or parents directly, the government can go ahead and just, remove part of the problem and just take care of it in the schools by saying, hey, the school lunch is going to be free. That way everybody get it. That way you don't have to ask what kid didn't eat breakfast today. You don't have to make them raise their hand. You don't have to do any of those things to identify them, to single them out. They just get it. Everybody gets it. And everybody doesn't know who's getting it for free or who didn't have the money, who does have the money. This kind of idea where everybody's just pretty much equal in principle and can move on from there. The U.S. seems like it's in desperate need of stuff like that, But I just think it's weird how the policies just seem to go left, right every 4 years. I think that sends so much trauma. It's sad to see the U.S. like that, but it's where the politics are at the moment. It's where our politics are. But let me see who else's speech. Do you know the Sinclair Group owns Michelle Obama's speech? Kamala Harris's speech is owned by Sinclair Group.
What is
Like,
the Sinclair Group?
They own the publishing rights. If you try to play their particular speeches, you're going to get copyright. You can't monetize it.
You can't monetize it.
Nope. You can't monetize it. So I had to spend a lot of time I'm still re-editing the nomination night, the fourth night, just because certain things can't use her speech. Michelle Obama's can't use all of Harris's speech, because you won't be able to monetize. Yeah, it's a lot of that stuff, man. But most of the people's speeches, like, they don't care about Tim Weiss, they don't care about most of the other speakers, but Kamala's speech and Michelle Obama's speech, and I think one other person, is a no go. Yeah, I don't know.
What about the lieutenant governor? His speech was good. Is that the type of thing?
That was fine. You could use it, right? So I think it's because they may have made private deals, just publishing deals with this, because it's big business right now. You know what I mean? A lot of people watch it. A lot of people will be listening to it, and it's their words. It's their words. It's their thoughts. So, but I just thought it was weird that Sinclair Group, it's a company called Sinclair. I've been getting some messages about that. But in any case, who else's speech? You said, what was it, Lieutenant Governor?
The Lieutenant Governor of Georgia.
Yes.
He was real good.
His speech was really great, and he didn't leave nothing
Good evening.
Trump to have to guess with.
Good evening. I bring greetings from the great state of Georgia.
Now, I would really like to know, like, how many of these Republicans are going to vote for Kamala Harris this time. Now, I'm guessing the polling is not that accurate in terms of the support for Kamala Harris, because in my mind, I've never seen more people cross the party line, leave a party just because of one candidate. I've never seen that before in history. So to me, it tells me that I'm suspecting a landslide, despite what the polling says, just because some of the things that have gone on are so you rarely hear about. I mean, listen to this guy's words.
So let's get the hard part out of the way. I am a Republican. But tonight, I stand here as an American. An American that cares more about the future of this country than the future of Donald Trump. My journey started to this podium years ago when I realized Donald Trump was willing to lie, cheat, and steal to try to overturn the 2020 election. I realized Trump was a direct threat to democracy, and his actions disqualified him from ever stepping foot into the Oval Office again. I could spend my time revving up this crowd, but I'm certain I don't have to talk anybody out of voting for Donald Trump here. So I'm going to focus my attention on the millions of Republicans and independents that are at home that are sick and tired of making excuses for Donald Trump. If Republicans are being intellectually honest with ourselves, our party is not civil or conservative. It's chaotic and crazy. And the only thing left to do is dump Trump. These days, our party acts more like a cult worshiping a felonious thug. Look, you don't have to agree with every policy position of Kamala Harris. I don't. But you do have to recognize her prosecutor mindset that understands right from wrong, good from evil. She's a steady hand and will bring leadership to the White House that Donald Trump could never do. Let me be clear to my Republican friends at home watching. If you vote for Kamala Harris in 2024, you're not a Democrat, you're a patriot. In our family, my wife Brooke and I are raising 3 boys, and we have a family motto. And it says, doing the right thing will never be the wrong thing. During 2020, during just the lowest of lows, when we had armed officers outside our house protecting us from other Republicans, Donald Trump had targeted us. My son came downstairs and he handed me this coaster that I'd given him years before at a father-son retreat for our church. And he said, hey, Dad, doing the right thing will never be the wrong thing. Stay strong. To my fellow Republicans at home that want to pivot back towards policy, empathy, and tone, you know the right thing to do. Now let's have the courage to do it in November. Thank you, and God bless you.
Yo, Donnie, you said somebody asked you today what you gonna do. What you mean? What you mean by that? Are they talking about who you're gonna vote for or what? I wish somebody would ask me who I'm voting for. I'm like, you out your mind? Is there a choice? There's no choice. But is that what they was asking you? They definitely want his black ass out. Who you talking about, Donnie? Who did they want out? Somebody I mentioned before? Oh, okay. I mean, I'm about to go on right now. I want to know who has been talking foul about Kamala Harris right now. I want to after this convention. I want to know, because don't get me wrong, disinformation, people get affected by it, but that's okay that you get affected by it one day and you need a little time to think through something, or you get a little confused. But after a while, if you haven't figured out what is disinformation from what's fact, then there's a problem. And I think people have been given long enough time to discuss her. You mean her black ass? Okay, I got you. Yeah, I see what you mean. Yeah, they want her black. Yeah, they do. And I think it's just a matter of that. Like, their arguments might lead in one direction, or it might seem like the arguments they make about Kamala, they might pick a particular point in time in her history and say she did this at this time, and so therefore. But if you look at it, for 30 years, for you to only have one thing that you can find, for them to have one thing, not even legislative thing, her as a prosecutor and then her mother, if those are the two things you got in 30 years to say about Kamala Harris, that ain't a lot. You know what I'm saying? And especially when you got Trump to look at, who's got 70 something, he's got 60 years or 50 years of just criminal activity, not, breaking the law. He's calling committing fraud, knowing the tax system, a tax loop, committing fraud. No, you committed fraud, dude. That wasn't a tax loop. They just had not caught up with you. For some reason, maybe you palmed some hands, Donald Trump. Maybe every time they started looking at you, since you had $1 billion, you could wash somebody's hand, give them a little bit of cake, and they turn away from prosecuting. But Donald Trump didn't really. It's not a matter of him just slipping through the cracks of the tax law. He committed flat out fraud, and they don't even care about it. The same people that's dissing Kamala, they don't even care about fraud. They don't care about sexual assault. Oh yeah, these people. Oh, I got you. Yeah, they want Trump's. Yo, that's right. They should want Trump out, and people are upset, and that's why I think it's going to be a landslide. I don't think the polls show, but I don't think people should be comfortable, because this is serious. Sometimes you got to put the boot down on somebody's head, decisively, and and this is one of those times, because that dude is a danger to everybody, like everybody. If you want to talk about your 401k, shit, why would you even vote for Trump? Yo, that's the first thing that's going to get demolished. He's going to raid the coffers, Exactly. You know what I'm saying? No, he was doing the same thing ish. All the motherfuckers do as far as the taxes, the tax loop. But he even went further. Look, dude is like he's going out there inflating the value of his properties, but he's doing the same thing. Sure, maybe some of them do it a little bit, and but Trump stretched the boundaries of that shit. I mean, he's making a $200,000 apartment turn into a $10 million apartment just by how you describe it and pen the paperwork and shit. Yo, dude is off the chain, but yes, at least he did it bad enough to where they have to crack down on all of them now. And I'm just so happy about that. But he's a danger, and I think these people need to understand nothing is going to go better, and everything could go great for the U.S. because the U.S. has more advantages, more opportunity than many other governments have in the world. But it ain't going to go nowhere with Trump. It's not going to go anywhere good with Trump. It's going to go everywhere bad with Trump, including your 401k, your pension. He's going to raid those coffers. He's going to find a way to raid the coffers somehow, some way. And the American taxpayer is going to pay for it. And if you think for 1 second that the U.S. government, the military, that is the military part of it, is just because they get a little, let's say Trump happens to become president, he raids the coffers, the country goes into a recession. Ain't no recession going to stop no war. Just to make people clear, a recession is not going to stop a war. It's not going to stop the United States from being out, having, an active Navy. It's not going to stop them from having the most active Air Force. You see what I mean? Like, people have it twisted in their minds a little bit because there's a point where danger can really come to your doorstep. And it's not that people just leave each other alone on Earth. That's not the case. You see what I mean? There's a lot of things going on Earth. Think about this. The United States didn't even want to be involved in World War II. It didn't want that. It wasn't something it was looking forward to paying for. It wasn't something that it even, out of all the bad things going on, it was doing everything to not just jump into a war. But you see, eventually it came to its doorstep. And that's exactly the same thing around this time. If you think when they tell you they're fighting somewhere else to avoid fighting here, people may want to start thinking about that. Because human beings on Earth, when it comes to military, government and dictators or any kind of thing, power, they tend to not leave each other alone. You see what I mean? People that want peace have to be active in getting it. That it's not always a case of, just sit back and leave everybody alone and people will leave us alone. No. So even if Trump gets into office and the U.S. does hit a recession, which it will, even if that happens, it's not going to stop the U.S. military from being engaged in the world. It's not that simple. Things don't work that simple. A lot of the advantages that Americans have had, they don't realize all the time because it's not talked about enough, whose shoulders they stand on and why. For example, what's this guy we were just talking about earlier? The short dude from Atlanta that produces music, blah, blah, blah. He produced Chris Rock and all of those groups, right? Well, he may not know it, but because a lot of us, everything's not all good all the time, but there are freedoms that we do have that other people don't have. Even if you're black in America, believe that. even as lousy as things can be in America, which needs to get fixed pronto, for the average person. It does not at all mean that somebody else outside of the U.S. doesn't have it and hasn't had it and is not continuing to have it far worse than you. It's true. Yes, there are people working in Russia and China for far less than you get paid. Far less. Get far less benefits than you get, and American citizens don't even get the benefits they should be getting as a first world country. You know, but the ones that they get are far greater than a lot of people on earth. Don't forget that. So, you know, things aren't going to necessarily change. The things that people want to change, that they say they want to change when they talk about Trump, like this idea that the U.S. military is just going to retreat from the world. We're going to, you know, stop. We're going to stop spending time and money. No. Every place that the U.S. military is, it's because a U.S. corporation is there earning dollars. American citizens are there earning dollars. That's what that's about. The U.S. doesn't send the military to defend nothing. It defends its assets, and it defends its allies that contribute also to the well-being and the economic standing and security of the U.S. That's what that's about. You know, so sometimes I just wonder, man, but it, you know, me myself, my understanding of it, I'm 55, well, I'll be 55 soon. I'm 54. But so my understanding is that of a 50-year-old person that kind of been following politics my whole life, but there's always more to learn. He was doing the same. Yeah. So let me see here. Who has been talking crap about Kamala since the DNC speech? That's what I'm curious about. This is some funny stuff here. Let's see here. Joe Mathis, for the record, he was wrong, man. Joe Mathis was wrong. Oh, right. I'm going to go back to that. This is what I'm going to play, y'all. Check this out. This is one of the things that people have been selling, and they were incorrect with. They were totally incorrect. Let me see something here. It was about Kamala Harris's ancestry. The things that people have been saying, passing around, enjoying to share, they weren't true in the end. But let me see something here. How can I find that? If I say Kamala Harris ancestry, yeah, they tried to, you know, basically confuse people and demand something that they would not submit to themselves of her, you know. But she never hid any of who her family was. But there's one thing. Where is it? I'm trying to find that is they have the data on it. And I played it the other day. Oh, wait a second. Here it is. I'm sorry. I know what it is now. It's in a short. Okay, so shorts. It's over here. Let me see. Here it is. Here it is right here. Listen up,
Kamala's
y'all.
father is Donald Harris. He was born in Jamaica, but immigrated to the U.S., where he became a professor of economics at Stanford University. According to Professor Harris, the two individuals who had the biggest influence on him during his upbringing in Jamaica were his two grandmothers, known as Miss Crishy and Miss Iris. Miss Crishy owned and operated a dry goods store in Brownstown. The name Brownstown comes from its founder, Hamilton Brown, an Irish slave owner who, according to Donald, was an ancestor of Crishy Brown.
You see that? So what they did was they decided to take that out, even though they don't have any factual information that this is an ancestor of hers, the founder of Brownstown, who was the person who was a slave owner in Jamaica. They don't have any actual information to back up that she's related to that person personally. What they're doing is using the name association to apply that. So then they saying, oh, she's a descendant of slaves. This is what they said, y'all. They say Kamala Harris was a descendant of slavers on Jamaica. And they said this based on her name being Brown. That's what they did. No relation. No lineage relation. No actual information about any relation. This is not even close to the same, they're not talking about that. All they have is that her name, that she has the name. Think about this, y'all. Anybody out there in the United States of America that carries a name that they got from slavery, you would now be the descendant of a slaver in America. You wouldn't be the victim of the slaver. You would now be the slaver, according to the logic that they put out about Kamala Harris. You see how fucked up that is? And you see how that story about her lineage could only come from a bigot now? Could only come from a racist and a white supremacist, I might add, too, because this is such backwards logic that they use to try to say that she's the descendant of slavers. If Kamala Harris is the descendant of slavers based on the information that they provided there, then everybody with a European last name in the United States is. But you see, there is no factual information that where someone could say or prove that Kamala Harris is a descendant of a slave master. They have brought none. All they've brought is name association. Her mother's name was Brown. The slave master's name was Brown. She must be a descendant of his. Yeah, but here's the thing. She could be a descendant. She could be. There's a lot of slaves that were also descendants of slavers. They didn't have rights, though. Why? Because they were considered black, Even though they were from the loins of a white slave master, they were considered black, the children, and therefore considered slaves. So by their logic, all African Americans with names would now be that, descendants of slave masters. You see how warped that logic is? And then they would put that logic out there to make it sound like, therefore, she is against us because what? You're not descendants of slave master. You're different. You're the victims with the names of the slave master, right? Just like she got the name of the slave master, but you're the victim and she's not the victim. You see how warped that logic is? Let me play it back. I forgot where I got this from even, but this is real. They did a whole study on her to break this down, and they realized, no, this is it. This is her father's grandma. His father's grandmother is this woman. The other grandmother is this woman. But this one woman has the last name Brown because she comes from a town called Brownstown that used to be a slave plantation. That doesn't mean she's the descendant of the slave master. Damn, don't y'all get that? That is so crazy. That's so crazy for them to try to lay on her, but they did try to lay that on her. And that is hateful. That is pathetic. But that's hateful. But for a black person to use that logic, that is pathetic. That is pathetic. Something has really got to be wrong with your heart and your soul to do that, to make those claims. When those same claims, all you have to do is take the same logic and ask yourself, how did you get your name? And how do we know you're not the descendant of a slave master? Because you have that same name. You see the logic?
This fact made the rounds last year when several far-right media outlets tried to make Kamala Harris look like a hypocrite by claiming that her Jamaican ancestors were a bunch of slave owners. Here's the thing. Like I mentioned in my video on Berry Gordy, most Black Americans have at least one white male somewhere free.
Listen up, y'all.
Kamala's father is Donald Harris. He was born in Jamaica, but immigrated to the US, where he became a professor of economics at Stanford University. According to Professor Harris, the two individuals who had the biggest influence on him during his upbringing in Jamaica were his two grandmothers, known as Miss Crishy and Miss Iris. Miss Crishy owned and operated a dry goods store in Brownstown. The name Brownstown comes from its founder, Hamilton Brown, an Irish slave owner, who, according to Donald, was an ancestor of Crishy Brown. This fact made the rounds last year, when several far-right media outlets tried to make Kamala Harris look like a hypocrite by claiming that her Jamaican ancestors were a bunch of slave owners. Here's the thing. Like I mentioned in my video on Berry Gordy,
so they spread that through Donald Trump's talking horses, and it turns out that no, they don't have no information that proves that Kamala Harris is related to any slave masters in Jamaica. They don't have that information. That's a claim that they made that's false. And furthermore, it's insulting, because then that would make everybody else who, what about every other Black American with a name, European name? What about every other Black American whose family went through slavery? Are you descendants of the slave master? Were you down with the slave? Did you benefit from the slavery? You see the twisted logic in that? But this is what they've been spreading. The logic, the syncopaths, they've been spreading this, and about Kamala Harris, lies about her. Not just lies about her record, lies about her personally, her family. I mean, these people have no respect for themselves, because if they had respect for themselves, the moment they found out they were incorrect, they would get down on their fucking knees and apologize, because they would realize they just insulted their own fucking grandparents. They just insulted their own fucking ancestors, because they have European names too. If you live in America and you have a European name, you think somebody's supposed to come up and say, yeah, you're a descendant of the slave masters there. Yeah, you must have been. What? So you weren't a victim of slavery? But you are now down with the slave master because you got the slave master's name? Think about how crazy that is. So they should be on their knees asking for forgiveness to themselves, their own family members, because with that kind of logic, they just dissed their entire family that has existed in the United States. Every generation. Again, my name is Bennett. My name comes from one of the biggest slave plantations in the United States. My family migrated from that town called Bennettsville that used to be a slave plantation. That does not at all fucking mean I'm related to the slave master. Okay, some of us could be. Because they raped women. They raped slave women. They raped Black slave women. So some of us could be. But that doesn't mean we're down with that. That's called being a victim. So why wouldn't you treat another victim of the Holocaust like a brother or sister? Why wouldn't you do that? If you had any respect for your own Holocaust, why wouldn't you do that? Yeah, in any case, I wish Kamala Harris the best. I think she's going to win. She definitely deserves to win. She definitely deserves to be the president of the United States. And Donald Trump has not done half the hard work, half the work that an individual like Kamala Harris has done. He is undeserving of any public post, any governmental post, any post that allows him to represent the nation or the people of the United States. Kamala Harris actually did work for that. And people should support it. Stop being petty. Stop making up lies. And stop dissing your own ancestors by allowing people to introduce this psychologic that disses the victims of slavery, that minimizes the Holocaust that happened, that minimizes it. You know, whoever came up with this lie about Kamala Harris's family, whoever came up with that lie is against reparations for African Americans. You got to understand that, because the logic that they presented totally undermines it. Yeah, so on that note, I'm out, y'all. Peace to everybody. Peace. Thanks for coming through, Donnie, Bev, Ashley D. What's up? Yo, next time you gotta hop up, Ashley. Also, yeah. So I just wanted to let folks know a little bit about what was going on in my mind after the DNC convention, and remind people why I live outside of the U.S. as an American citizen, why I live outside, and what some of the differences are, hoping that fellow Americans can benefit and utilize that qualitative and, if necessary, quantitative data that I'm presenting on that matter. So hopefully it's useful. I'm sure to the ones that, you know, want to utilize it, they will. And the ones that don't, they won't, you know. But understand this: whether Trump becomes the president of the United States, I'm an American citizen, but I do not live in the U.S. So he's not fucking with my health care. He's not fucking up my health care. He's not fucking up my housing insurance. He's not fucking up the rights of my kids to be paid to go to school, because I don't live in the United States, although I'm an American, although I'm a United States citizen. I live outside, where people have decided everybody deserves to go to school. Everybody deserves to have health care. Everybody deserves to have a fair wage. That's the part of the world that I live in. And I wish the United States to be the same for my American counterparts. So I appreciate everybody. Y'all be good. Any questions, let me know. To all the trolls out there on the internet, yo, man, get a life. I feel sorry for y'all, you know. I've been getting a lot of troll activity, and it's some embarrassing comments, just like really low level thinking. And some of y'all should be smarter than that. Some of y'all should just grow, you know. Don't settle for mediocrity. Yeah, you know, and stick to the core facts. Stick to the facts. Stop going off into la la land, into things you can't even prove or solve. Stick with the core facts. The United States is the richest country on earth, doesn't have universal health care for all its citizens. The United States is the richest country on earth. All people don't have access to fair and education. Why is that? These are historic wrongs. They can be corrected with candidates that recognize these wrongs. The United States, really, people working 2 and 3 jobs because there's no fucking unions. What the hell? That means you're not getting a fair wage from any damn job, that you got to work 3. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's up with that? It's okay if you're ambitious and you want to work 3 jobs, but one job, one full-time job, should pay a fair wage. It should pay enough for you to live in the area where that goddamn job is. 15 minutes away by bus and no more. It should pay for you. It should give you enough for food, shelter, and all those things in that area where you're working. You shouldn't have to drive an hour. Shouldn't have to bus an hour. Shouldn't have to do all of that shit. You see what I mean? All that stuff is a waste of energy too. Moving people around all those distances cost money. So you may as well just pay people money so they can live in the places where they work, or work, you know, make things a little simpler for people, make survival a little bit easier. Yeah. But in any case, I'm out, y'all. Appreciate it. Everybody be cool. I'll be back later on this evening, Sunday. It is Saturday night or Saturday morning for some people. I mean, Sunday. Saturday night and it's Sunday morning for some people, but I will be back Sunday night and Monday morning for other people. So one more again, I'll be back with y'all. Peace.
This is kind of like a prayer going out to all the peeps close to me and dear to me, the ones that's been there for my whole life, the ones that came later in my life. Yeah. I appreciate all the blessings God has given me, and I want to repay it to you like this. Clap your hands. Everybody clap your hands. Introducing. This is the joint where we give shout outs to all the peeps, you know what I'm saying? You know we couldn't do this joint without spreading some love to the ones. Yo, check